If I don't buy a home now, I won't ever be able to buy a home. That's a concern that many people have with home prices rising and interest rates still at some of the highest we've seen in over 20 years. The dream of homeownership is starting to fade if it hasn't already faded completely. So in this video, I want to talk about it. Is it really true that if you don't buy a home now, will you really never be able to afford a home? I'll also caution you on why having this mindset could cost you thousands of dollars. I think one of the biggest driving forces of these rising home prices is supply and demand. There are more buyers than there are sellers. There are a number of reasons for this. Probably first off, there's just not a lot of new construction that's being built in relation to how many buyers there are on the market. Now, I think a lot of this has to do with builders being very cautious to not overextend themselves. They see that it's an unpredictable economy and they don't want to have a repeat of what happened in 2008. Many builders went out of business. For others, it took years to recover. Another issue is not as many people are selling their home right now. A lot of that has to do with interest rates. During the pandemic, we saw interest rates at historic lows, and many people jumped on that opportunity either by buying a home with a low interest rate or they refinanced. There are many people out there that currently have a 3% or 4% interest rate, or even lower than that. It doesn't really make sense for them to sell right now and trade in their 3% interest for 7% at this point. I don't really see a clear path to getting a significant amount of inventory on the market that will then be sufficient enough for the amount of buyers we have. And really the tricky thing about it is when buying conditions get better, more buyers enter the market. Let's say home prices go down a bit or interest rates go down, then more buyers enter the market. So even if we do get some homeowners starting to sell, we get more inventory to the market, we're also getting more buyers to the market. So the insanity really doesn't stop, in my opinion, unless we get a really healthy amount of inventory. With home prices not decreasing a significant amount in most markets, affordability is getting more and more difficult for people, and there's a concern there for buyers, and you might have this concern as well, is that the window of opportunity may not open again for you. I think that adds a lot of stress to people, and that's why I think some people have still bought now, even though buying conditions aren't at their best, because they're worried if they don't buy now, they're never going to be able to buy. When it comes down to it, for most people, it doesn't make sense to buy now. Like I talked about before, we have an unpredictable economy. In most areas, it's a seller's market. The reality is, for some people, they can buy now, but if the market doesn't slow down, they won't be able to buy anymore. That's what's pushing people to buy now. Are you ready to make some moves in the real estate world? Go over to workwithdanG.com and let's get started. I'll connect you with a real estate agent. There's also a complimentary home buyers course and other resources like an affordability calculator. Let's turn your real estate dreams into a reality. Having the mindset of I have to buy a home now or I'll never be able to buy a home is a bad mindset to have, in my opinion. My concern for people like that is they might buy a home but then later regret it. I've seen it happen, unfortunately. Anytime you buy a home, it's a long-term commitment, obviously, but especially right now. After buying the home, you want to give yourself plenty of time to be able to gain equity in the home. There's a chance that there could be a crash or home prices drop, and you definitely don't want to have to try to sell during a time like that because most likely you'll lose money. So if you commit to living in the home for a long time, hopefully you avoid that. What are you thinking of doing? Are you going to buy a home or wait it out? What do you think will happen in the real estate market? Let us know in the comments. Now, I hope the housing market will become more affordable, prices will stop rising, inflation stops, the economy gets better, people get paid more. Basically, life is rosy and amazing. We finally catch up with the wild inflation and other circumstances that got everything out of whack to begin with. Maybe government entities step in to fix the housing market. There is some proposed legislation that I've seen, but of course with that kind of stuff, who knows if it'll ever pass. And at least some of the things that I've seen locally that's passed, it's really hard to implement and police. Also, there could be a new era of how homes are built. I've seen a few communities popping up that are building smaller homes. Not necessarily tiny homes, although that's a thing too. This is making it easier for some people to buy a home. Now, I know this may not be the perfect scenario if you plan on having a large family, but for some people, they're not looking to do that, but they still want to be able to buy a home. So a smaller, more affordable one could work out for certain people. Now, trust me, I do understand that this isn't the best solution. Home prices just need to drop, but the reality is that may not happen. So what's an alternative path to home ownership? Smaller, less expensive homes. There are also more work from home jobs, so you can live in an area that's more aligned with how much you get paid. You save money on commuting and all that kind of stuff. Basically, a lifestyle switch. A lot of times when I'm working with a client, one of the things that they tell me is they don't want to live far from work. But because of that, depending on the area, that can make things a little costly. If you work from home, you don't have to worry about that. Now, when will all of this stuff happen? Who knows? And it may never happen. So if you are someone who's really set on being a homeowner and you have the means to do it, it might make sense for you to buy a home. But I really want to caution people here that basically we don't know what's going to happen with the housing market at all. We don't know what's going to happen with the economy. It's really unpredictable. We could have some sort of crash. Maybe home prices do decrease and decrease a significant amount. Nowadays, there are things set in place to make sure people who are getting awarded mortgages can pay back the mortgage. My biggest piece of advice to you, if you do have the mindset of if you don't buy now, you'll never be able to, is don't give in to the pressure of buying a home. If you buy a home, you want to make sure that you're happy with your purchase. At the end of the day, no one knows what's going to happen. So we really don't know if you don't buy now, you'll never be able to buy a home. A lot can happen, especially with an unpredictable housing market. You have to make the right choice for you, and only you can make the decision for yourself. I wish you the best of luck in your home journey. If you found this video helpful, please like and comment to let me know. Thank you for watching this video to the end.